119 Keys, and this is high-level conversation. Library.
How would you describe what willpower is?
Will, the minister said it this way. He said, will is the faculty of the mind that allows the mind to impose itself, paraphrasing, the power of the mind over its own self. So your ability, really willpower is not just mind over matter. It's mind over mind. It's the ability to stop you, what you think, redirect it, change it, or get rid of it. That's willpower. Willpower, the minister said this, he said, as strong as the will is in a man is as strong as the God is in the man. So our willpower is our ability to do what we say we're going to do. Can we maintain an action long after the excitement has worn off? Can we maintain an action even whenever we're fatigued? Can we put our word out there and make our word bond regardless to whom or what? Can we do what we should do when we should do it, whether we feel like doing it or not? That's willpower. So whenever you can make your yes, yes, and be willing to do as the messenger said, my word is bond and bond is life, and I'll give my life before my word shall fail. In other words, if I say I'm going to do it, I'm not going to quit until I'm dead. Otherwise, my will stay in motion. So that's it's mental muscle.
Yes, sir.
It's mind over mind, mind over matter. It's the ability to maintain that action, even whenever distractions and excitement is worn off, still be able to stay true to what you said in your word and make it bond.
Yes, sir. I like that. It's that connection between man has with his word and his thoughts. And it was the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I forget what year it was, but he was talking about mastering sexual urges. And he was explaining about how society has gotten to a point where, you know, we seek pleasures outside of self, right? And we seek pleasures in all of these lower desired ways, right? Whether it's through sex, social stimulation, drugs, whatever you have it. But he was explaining that the real pleasure is when man can take a thought and produce it into reality outside of his mind. And because man lacks that ability to do that today, a lazy, unwillful, tired, right, lack of ambitious man, then you seek that pleasure because man is going to need to be stimulated in some sort of way. But that stimulation is supposed to come from that activity in the mind producing constantly. So, you know, especially in this day and age where testosterone is literally low, right? Man's willpower is low. How does man increase himself to where, or how would you go about helping someone get to the point where they seek the pleasures of the mind and not the body?
Well, that lecture, and in truth, you know, I always say to myself and others that if we don't become what we're supposed to become, we'll never be able to say we wasn't well taught. We just didn't apply what we were taught. Because there's not a subject of life that we ever going to face that the minister has not unpacked several times. So that lecture, you can find it on YouTube. Satan is the master of sexual urges. It's from the 80s in the Final Call building. And he's on the chalkboard with the marker and the whiteboard, breaking it down. And he shows how urges, this was deep. He said urges have a voice. And the voice they use is your voice. So the same voice you hear in your head when you read, the same voice that you might hear a word from God, Satan himself uses the same voice to attach to the urge. So it sounds like you telling yourself to do this.
Right.
And if you're telling yourself to do it, it got to be right. So in that message, he said that real pleasure comes from, number one, discovering your gifts. Like the earth. He used an example of like the earth. You going down the treasure, you find diamonds and gold, you're going to feel good about that.
Yes, sir.
He said, but you'll feel even better when you go into yourself and find the gifts, skills, and talents that God placed in you. Then you have to bring out those gifts, skills, and talents and put it in the service and build a life with it and help other people with it. Then he said that he used this verse. He said, how beautiful it is for brethren to dwell together in unity with one another. Another place of pleasure comes from the brotherhood, from the sisterhood, being in harmony with people of like minds that you love and that love you back.
Yes, sir.
You get pleasure from that. And then on top of that, he said, you get pleasure out of being able to envision what you want to do. Take their gift, skills, and talent, use it as tools to bring that vision into a reality. If we did that, Brother Keys, as you said, we would not need so much validation from the opposite sex in the form of a physical contact or even a compliment from them. We would be able to get fulfillment from within. And a man should love a woman and a woman should love a man. Both of them are created by God to give comfort and consolation to one another. That's what the scripture says. So, but it's never her comfort when you did no work. It's always her comfort after you did your work. And if you follow that system of those three, bringing vision into reality, digging out the talents within, skills within, putting them in the service for yourself, and having the love of the brotherhood and sisterhood, being in that kind of harmony with people of like minds, where pleasure really comes from, then we won't have the sexual perversity that comes from us bowing to the urges that we see. And we were talking the other day with a brother, and he's been wrestling with, he's successful, but he's been wrestling with, he's economically successful, has fortune and fame, but he's been wrestling with issues with being able to stay loyal in a relationship.
Yes, sir.
And he came clean, and so I was showing the brother different scriptures, and he was like, yeah, I understand it. I understand that. But look at this. Napoleon Hill was hired by Andrew Carnegie to study the 50 most successful people in the world, and he followed them for 20 years. Well, he also, Napoleon Hill, when doing the 50 most successful, ran into 25,000 people in them same fields that were failures. Do you know one of the biggest differences that he found among the two? He said that the 25,000 that were failures in the field were engaged in a whole lot of sexual promiscuity. But the 50, they had followed, he called it the law of transmutation, where they converted their sexual energy that they had for the opposite sex, and they rechanneled it and redirected it into becoming proficient in their craft or their business, and they stayed loyal to the one that they were with, called their husband or their wife. And that tells us that there is a certain amount of self that gets trapped or insisted whenever we are not living in accord with the code of right.
Yes,
so
sir.
If you really want to see more of yourself, more powerful, be more successful, then the more righteous we become, the more in harmony. And as you said, that inner voice, that self-accusing spirit. See, it's something about you defying the world every day that's trying to get you to be wrong, get you to be weak, get you to be lazy, and you decide that you're not going to be that. It starts making you feel proud of yourself. And when you can lay down at night and say, man, I've been living a day that made me proud of me, and I've been living to the law and the code, and God might be proud of me too. When you go to sleep, you sleep good. When you wake up a conqueror, ready to go at it again. So that's something that can help us, I think.
Yes, sir.
With that, getting pleasure from the proper source.
Yes, sir.
So that whenever the pleasure comes from the other proper source that should be down the line, it ain't the primary and the only.
Yes, sir.
It's the last one that came after putting in great work.
If you're going to jump into crown society, you're saying that I represent power, I represent knowledge of self.
Stepping in the name of drip, get ready with me. Stepping in the name of drip, get ready.
I wear the crown to just symbolize, like, I know who I am, I know why I'm here, I know my purpose.
It's abundance, it's royalty, it's prosperity, it's energy.
Put in.
Yeah.
I gotta walk with my head held high because you gotta see this and you gotta see this.
I believe that if anybody wants to be able to protect their mind and be able to think freely, you gotta get Crown Society today, man.
Neo after the blue pill, the color palette's all black. James Bond mixed with Malcolm X in my Che Guevara era.
I'm 19 Keys, and this is high level conversation.